We will demonstrate an engine 1 bleed fault due to an HP valve fault. Let's assume you are pilot non-flying and you are ready to taxi. Click on the forward arrow to activate the failure. You increase the engine thrust and on the engine warning display, read the title of the failure. The engine 1 bleed system has failed. On the bleed system page, which has been called automatically, the engine 1 HP valve is displayed open amber because it is abnormally open. In fact, all the HP valves have closed except the engine 1 valve, which stays open. This is the reason for the failure. The amber fault light on the engine 1 bleed push button switch confirms the failure. The bleed monitoring computer detects that the HP valve is abnormally open, so it automatically closes the engine 1 bleed valve in order to protect the system. It provokes an abnormal bleed configuration as displayed on the engine warning display. The bleed valve is displayed amber because its automatic closure is due to a failure. After review and confirmation from the pilot flying, clear air. The engine 1 bleed push button switch fault light remains illuminated, meaning that the failure is still present. Continue ECAM action. Observe the ECAM. The cross-bleed valve is displayed amber during transit and inline green when fully open. Air is now provided to the Pack 1 by engines 2, 3, and 4, which eases engine 2. On the engine warning display, the title of the failure has been cleared, and the status reminder is displayed. ECAM action completed. Now we will see what happens if you have to use wing anti-ice with the engine 1 bleed still inoperative. Let's assume you are in cruise and you encounter icing conditions during the remaining part of your flight, and you decide to switch on your wing anti-ice. Switch wing anti-ice on. Three engines are sufficient for supplying both air conditioning packs and wing anti-ice at the same time. So the engine 1 bleed system failure does not penalize wing anti-ice system. Note, for more information about the packs, refer to the air conditioning chapter. For training purposes, to teach you more about the pneumatic system, we will continue by adding another failure to your previous configuration. This will be a left wing leak. This does not seem to be your lucky day. Click on the forward arrow. On the engine warning display, read the title of the failure. On the system display, the ECAM bleed page is automatically presented. On the air panel, engine 1 bleed fault remains unchanged, and engine 2 bleed fault is illuminated. The title of the failure indicates that a bleed leakage in the left wing has been detected. The left side of the bleed system has to be shut down in order to prevent any damage from leaking hot air. That provokes an abnormal bleed configuration as indicated on the second line of the engine warning display. Clear air. The first line of the ECAM procedure requires you to switch the cross-bleed selector to the closed position. With the selector in auto position, the cross-bleed valve would have been closed automatically, but remember, you have opened it manually in the previous procedure. The pilot flying will ask you to perform the ECAM actions. Perform ECAM action. Observe the indications. The cross-bleed valve closes. The pressure of bleed system 1 returns to 0. Since there is no hot air supplied, the left wing anti-ice valve indication becomes amber. The wing anti-ice indications will be explained further in a later module. Continue ECAM action. The wing anti-ice was switched off because you do not want to de-ice one wing only. The ECAM advises you to avoid icing conditions for the remaining part of the flight. After review and confirmation from the pilot flying, clear air. The status page also informs you that you have to avoid icing conditions. On this page, the approach procedure gives you the approach speed in case of ice accretion. Among the inoperative systems, you find the left bleed systems, i.e. Engine 1 and Engine 2 bleed, APU bleed, and Pack 1. The wing anti-ice is also inoperative. It cannot even be used for the right wing. After review and confirmation from the pilot flying, clear status. ECAM action completed. We will now briefly look at several abnormals without performing the procedures to see the remaining indications of the pneumatic system. In normal operation, when you use APU bleed, the cross-bleed valve automatically opens. If it fails to open, an ECAM caution is triggered, and the cross-bleed valve is displayed cross-line amber to indicate disagreement. Conversely, if the cross-bleed valve fails to close in automatic mode, e.g. after the APU bleed has been switched off, it is displayed inline amber accompanied by an ECAM caution.